Hello, everyone. Welcome back to AI World Weekly. I'm Maya.
And I'm Alex. Thank you so much for joining us today.
This is the show where we take the biggest stories in artificial intelligence and explain them in simple, clear English. No complicated words, no confusion.
And today, Maya, I have to say, this was one of the most exciting weeks in AI history. I actually had to stop and reread some of these stories because I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Same here, Alex. We have 20 big stories to cover today. From billion-dollar deals to robot warehouses, from cybercrime to job cuts. It is all here.
So let's not waste any time. Let's start with the story that everyone was talking about this week. Story number 1. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, announced the biggest funding round in the history of artificial intelligence. They raised $122 billion.
$122 billion. Alex, when I first read that number, I thought there was a typo.
Me too, but it is real. And after this deal, OpenAI is now valued at $852 billion. That is almost $1 trillion.
To help our listeners understand, $1 trillion is roughly the size of the entire economy of a country like the Netherlands or Switzerland. OpenAI, a company that started about 10 years ago, is almost worth that.
So who put in all this money? The biggest investor was Amazon, which contributed $50 billion. Then Nvidia and SoftBank each put in around $30 billion.
And there is a very interesting detail about this deal. Some of this money comes with a condition. The investors said, "We will give you the full amount only if OpenAI either does an IPO, which means selling company shares to regular people, or if you achieve AGI."
AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. That means an AI system that can do almost everything a human can do intellectually.
So the investors are basically betting that OpenAI will either go public on the stock market or change the world with AGI. Either way, they want to be part of it.
And there is more from OpenAI this week. They also announced something called a super app. This will be a single application that combines ChatGPT for conversation, a web browser, a coding assistant called Codex, and something called AI agents.
An AI agent is basically an AI that can take actions for you. It can search the web, book appointments, send emails, all automatically.
So imagine having one app that can do almost everything you need. That is what OpenAI is building.
It is very ambitious, and with $122 billion in the bank, they now have the resources to try. Okay, story number 2 is connected to what you just mentioned, Alex. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, made a very bold statement this week.
He wrote in a blog post that AGI already exists, that it is already here. He said AI systems are now capable of creating billion-dollar companies by themselves.
This is a very big claim, and it created a lot of debate because scientists do not agree on what AGI even means. Is it an AI that can write code? Is it an AI that can feel emotions? Is it an AI that can learn anything on its own?
Right. There is no one agreed definition. Some researchers say we are still very far from true AGI. Others, like Jensen Huang, say we are already there.
And the timing of this statement was interesting too. It came right before NVIDIA's big annual conference called GTC. So some people were asking, is this a technical statement or a marketing statement?
Probably a little of both, but it tells us something important. The leaders of the AI industry are becoming more confident. They believe the technology is advancing faster than most people expected.
And NVIDIA is at the center of all of this. Their graphics chips, called GPUs, are the main technology used to train and run AI systems. Without NVIDIA's chips, most of today's AI would not exist.
So when Jensen Huang speaks, people listen very carefully. Story 3 is a fascinating legal and political story. Maya, can you set the scene for us?
Yes. So there is an AI company called Anthropic. They make an AI assistant called Claude. Anthropic is one of the most respected AI safety companies in the world.
And this week, a federal judge in San Francisco said something very surprising. The U.S. Department of Defense, which is the Pentagon, had blocked the use of Claude, and the judge said this decision appears to be a punishment.
So why did the Pentagon block Anthropic? The story is quite remarkable. The Department of Defense wanted to use Claude for military purposes, but Anthropic refused. They said no to 2 specific uses: fully autonomous weapons, which are weapons that can decide to attack without a human making that decision, and mass surveillance of American citizens.
So Anthropic said, "We will not let our AI be used for those things," and the Pentagon responded by classifying Anthropic as a risk to the supply chain.
That is a very serious label. It essentially means the government is treating Anthropic like a company that cannot be trusted, and Anthropic became the first American company to receive that designation.
The judge is now questioning whether the Pentagon had the right to do this, because Anthropic was simply refusing to let its AI be used for things it considers unethical.
This story raises a really important question. Should AI companies have the right to say no to governments, or does national security always come first?
There are no easy answers, but the fact that a federal judge is getting involved shows that this is a serious legal battle, not just a business dispute.
And it will be very important to follow this case in the coming weeks. Story 4 is also about Anthropic and Claude, and this one is more about technology than politics. Yes, Anthropic launched a new feature this week. It's called Computer Use, and it allows Claude to actually control your computer. Not in a scary way, let me explain. When you enable this feature, Claude can open applications, use a web browser, fill in spreadsheets, and click on buttons in software, all from instructions you give it.
And here's the cool part. You can trigger all of this from your phone. So you're sitting on the bus, you send a message to Claude on your phone, and your computer at home starts doing the work.
Anthropic also released something connected to this called Dispatch. It lets you send tasks to Claude, and it works on your computer while you are doing other things. Think of it like having a virtual assistant who actually sits at your desk and uses your computer for you. This feature is available right now for users on the Pro and Max plans, and it is a big step toward what people call agentic AI, which means AI that acts on your behalf in the real world. Every week, AI gets a little closer to being a true digital employee. Story 5 is a lesson in the difference between great technology and a successful product. That is a perfect way to describe it. So, Sora. Our listeners may remember that OpenAI launched Sora, a tool that creates videos using AI. It was considered very impressive technology. Last year, in October 2025, they launched a mobile app in France called the Sora app. It was designed like TikTok, where you could browse AI-generated videos. And this week, OpenAI announced they are shutting it down. The app simply did not attract enough users. People tried it, but they did not come back. And this is really interesting because the underlying technology, the Sora 2 model, is still considered one of the best video AI systems in the world. So the technology was great, but the product did not work. This happens in the technology industry quite often. Sometimes you can build something technically amazing, but you cannot find the right way to present it to regular users. It also shows that OpenAI does not always win. They are a very powerful company, but they can still make mistakes with products. The video AI space is still very competitive. Other companies like Runway, Pika, and Google with Veo are also building video AI tools. This race is not over. Okay, story 6 is one that I think everyone should pay attention to, not because it is fun, but because it affects all of us.
Yes, this is a cybersecurity story. A company called Flashpoint published a report this week, and the numbers are alarming.
They found that conversations among cybercriminals about using AI in attacks grew by 1,500%. That's 15 times more than before.
1,500%. That means criminals are now actively learning to use AI to attack companies, steal data, and break into systems.
The report also said that in 2025 alone, malware, which is malicious software, infected 11.1 million computers. And this malware stole 3.3 billion login credentials. That means usernames and passwords.
3.3 billion. That is an enormous number. Think about how many people use the internet. Many of those people's accounts may already be compromised and they do not know it.
Ransomware attacks also increased by 53%. Ransomware is when criminals take control of your files and ask you to pay money to get them back.
So why is AI making this worse? Because AI tools help criminals write better phishing emails, find weaknesses in software faster, and automate attacks at a much larger scale.
Before, a criminal needed to be technically skilled to do these things. Now, with AI tools available on the dark web, almost anyone can try.
The message for our listeners is use strong passwords, use two-factor authentication, and be careful about emails asking for your information.
Basic digital safety is more important than ever.
Story 7 shows how big companies are now deeply integrating AI into their daily operations. Bank of America made a big announcement.
Yes, they deployed an AI advisory platform to about 1,000 financial advisors. This system is powered by a technology from Salesforce called Agentforce.
The AI helps the advisors answer client questions faster, find relevant information, and prepare recommendations. It is like having a very smart research assistant always available.
And Bank of America already has a well-known AI assistant called Erica. According to the company, Erica now does work that is equivalent to approximately 11,000 employees.
That is not 11,000 employees who were fired. It means that the tasks those 11,000 people would have done are now being handled by AI. The bank is doing more work with the same number of people.
They also said that 18,000 developers at the bank are now using AI coding tools, and these tools have improved developer productivity by 20%.
For a large bank, a 20% improvement in developer speed is very significant. That means faster product launches, fewer bugs, and lower costs.
This is a very clear example of AI being used not to replace workers, but to make workers more powerful. That is the positive version of the AI in business story. Story 8 is about a company you may not know, but you should. Luma AI launched a new model called Uni-1 this week.
And this model scored higher than both Google's latest model and OpenAI's GPT Image 1.5 on a benchmark test called RiseBench.
Let's explain benchmarks quickly. A benchmark is a standard test that researchers use to compare different AI models. It is like a school exam for AI systems.
And Luma AI's Uni-1 performed better than both Google and OpenAI on this test. But what makes Uni-1 special technically?
Great question. Most AI models either work with text or with images. Uni-1 does both at the same time in one single process. It uses something called an autoregressive transformer.
Without going too deep into the technical details, this means the model thinks about text and image together in the same sequence. This makes the output more coherent and more logical.
And it costs 30% less to run than the competing models, so it is more powerful and cheaper. That is a very strong combination.
Luma AI is a relatively small company compared to Google or OpenAI. This shows that you do not have to be a tech giant to produce world-class AI research.
Competition is good for everyone. It drives innovation faster.
Story 9. Meta, the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is making big changes, and some of those changes are painful for employees.
Meta announced this week that it is laying off hundreds of workers. The cuts are focused on 3 areas: social media teams, recruitment, and the Reality Labs division, which is the team working on virtual reality and augmented reality.
There were also reports that Meta plans to reduce its total workforce by up to 20%. That is a very significant cut for such a large company.
And what is the reason behind these cuts? Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Meta, made a clear statement. He said that 2026 will be the year when AI dramatically changes how we work.
In other words, Meta is reducing the number of humans in certain roles and replacing that capacity with AI systems.
This is a trend we are seeing across the whole technology industry. Companies are looking at which tasks can be done by AI and then reducing the number of humans doing those tasks.
Now, Meta is also investing heavily in AI research. They have their own large language model called Llama, which is open source, meaning anyone can use it freely. And they are building AI features into all of their apps.
So Meta is not running away from AI. They are running toward it. The question is what happens to the people whose jobs are affected.
That is a conversation that the whole world needs to have, and we will come back to it in some of the next stories too.
Story 10 connects directly to what we just talked about, because Meta is not alone. This year, 2026, has already seen more than 40,000 tech layoffs across 70 companies, and AI is a central reason.
Let's look at some specific examples. The company Block, which is the fintech company run by Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, eliminated about 40% of its workforce.
40%? That is almost half the company.
And Jack Dorsey was very direct about why. He said the positions were made redundant by AI tools. No corporate language, no hiding. He basically said, AI can do this work now.
Another company, Atlassian, which makes tools like Jira and Confluence that many software teams use, also announced cuts. They said they want to redirect money from salaries into AI investments.
And Oracle, the huge software company, cut between 20,000 and 30,000 employees. They plan to use $8 to $10 billion that was going to salaries to build AI infrastructure instead.
These numbers are not small. When we add them all together across the industry, it becomes a major economic shift.
Now, the optimistic view is that new jobs will be created. When electricity replaced candle factories, new industries appeared. When computers replaced typewriters, new kinds of work emerged.
That is true, but the concern is the speed of this change. When industrial revolutions happened in the past, they took decades. AI is changing things in months.
People need time to learn new skills, and governments and companies need to think about how to support workers who are affected.
This is probably the most important social challenge connected to AI right now, and it is only going to get bigger.
Okay, story 11 is quite dramatic. It involves a social media movement, ethical choices, and a major shift in the AI market.
So let's start at the beginning. OpenAI signed a deal with the U.S. Pentagon, the Department of Defense. This deal would allow ChatGPT and other OpenAI tools to be used for military applications.
When this news became public, a large group of people on social media started a movement with the hashtag #QuitGPT. More than 2.5 million people said they were going to stop using ChatGPT because of this deal.
And the numbers showed they meant it. Uninstallations of the ChatGPT app increased by 295%. Almost 3 times more people deleted the app compared to the week before.
And where did those people go? Many of them downloaded Claude, made by Anthropic. Remember from Story 3, Anthropic was the company that refused the Pentagon deal, saying no to autonomous weapons and mass surveillance.
As a direct result, Claude reached #1 on the App Store in the United States for the first time in its history.
So there is a real market for AI companies that take a strong ethical position. Users are paying attention to the values of the companies they use.
This is actually a very encouraging sign. It means that AI developers cannot simply do whatever the biggest customer asks. There are users watching, and they will vote with their behavior.
It also shows that competition in AI is very real. OpenAI losing millions of users in 1 week to Anthropic is not a small event.
The AI market is not locked in place. Users have choices, and they are willing to make them. Story 12. Perplexity AI, which many people know as an AI-powered search engine, made 2 big product announcements this week.
First, they announced something called a personal computer. This is not just a new computer. It is a dedicated Mac Mini device with AI always running in the background.
The idea is that this AI watches your files, your apps, your browsing sessions, and your calendar. It learns about you and becomes like a proactive digital proxy. That means it can take actions on your behalf before you even ask.
For example, imagine you have a meeting tomorrow about a project. The AI might automatically prepare a summary of your recent emails and documents related to that project, so you are ready.
Perplexity also announced a new browser called Comet. This browser has a built-in AI assistant that helps you as you browse the web. It can read pages and answer questions about what you are reading.
Comet is now available for businesses on macOS and Windows.
The browser wars are back, but this time it's not just about speed or design. It's about how well the AI inside the browser understands you.
And Perplexity is positioning itself not just as a search tool anymore, but as a full AI operating system for your daily work.
Story 13. Microsoft made a quiet but important update to Copilot, its AI assistant built into Office 365.
Copilot now supports voice input for conversations. This means you can speak to your AI assistant instead of typing, and Microsoft started rolling this out in Outlook, Word, and PowerPoint.
So you could be working in Word and say, "Hey Copilot, make this paragraph shorter and more professional," and it will do it.
In Outlook, you can now speak to compose emails. The AI listens to your voice, writes the email, and you can even ask it to improve the tone or make it shorter before you send it.
This is very useful for people who find typing slow or for people who want to multitask. You can be doing something with your hands and still give instructions to your AI assistant.
It also helps people with certain disabilities who find using a keyboard difficult. Voice interfaces make AI more accessible to more people.
Microsoft is a very important player in this space because hundreds of millions of people use Office 365 for work every single day. When Microsoft adds a feature, it reaches more users than almost any other platform.
Little by little, the way we work is changing. Talking to our software is becoming normal. Story 14 comes from Google. They released what they call the March Pixel Drop, which is a software update for Pixel phones that includes new AI features.
The biggest update is called Gemini App Actions. This feature allows Gemini, Google's AI assistant, to control third-party apps on your phone.
So you can say, "Order me a pizza from Domino's," and Gemini will open the Domino's app, find your usual order, and complete the purchase. Or you can say, "Book me an Uber to the airport at 7 p.m., and it will do that for you.
You do not need to open the app yourself. The AI does it for you. You just describe what you want in natural language.
They also updated a feature called Circle to Search. Before, you could draw a circle around one item on your screen to search for it. Now you can circle multiple items at the same time.
So if you see a photo with 3 products you like, you can circle all 3 at once and search for all of them together.
These updates show that Google is moving fast in the race to make AI assistants genuinely useful in everyday life, not just for answering questions, but for doing things.
The key word is agentic, AI that acts, not just AI that talks. Story 15 comes from the world of research, and this one is about physical robots, not just software.
Researchers from MIT and a company called Symbotic worked together to develop an AI system for warehouse robots, and the results were impressive.
The new system increased the flow of robots in a warehouse by 25% compared to traditional methods.
Let's explain what that means. In a large warehouse, like the ones Amazon uses, there are hundreds of robots moving around at the same time. They carry boxes, move products, and help with orders.
The problem is that when you have too many robots in the same space, they can get in each other's way. They create traffic jams, just like cars on a road.
Traditional algorithms, which are sets of rules written by humans, try to organize the robots, but the MIT system uses something called reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning is when an AI learns by trying things, making mistakes, and improving over time, a bit like how humans learn to ride a bicycle. The AI learned to predict where traffic jams would happen and prevent them before they occurred.
And the result was 25% more efficiency. In a business like e-commerce, where speed is everything, that is a very significant improvement.
This research will likely be used in real warehouses in the coming years. The combination of AI and physical robots is called embodied AI, and it is one of the fastest growing areas in the field.
From the digital world to the physical world, AI is moving everywhere. Story 16 is a shorter one, but it is interesting because it shows the limits of AI ambition.
OpenAI had a feature called Instant Checkout. The idea was simple. While talking to ChatGPT, you could buy products directly inside the chat. You did not need to go to Amazon or any other store.
It was OpenAI's attempt to compete with Amazon in the e-commerce space.
But this week they announced they are shutting it down. The features simply did not attract enough users.
Why do you think it failed, Alex?
I think people have established habits. When you want to buy something, you go to Amazon or Google Shopping. It's what you know. It's comfortable. Asking an AI chatbot to be your store is a big behavioral change, and people were not ready for it.
It also shows that OpenAI, despite its enormous size and resources, cannot simply enter any market and win. E-commerce is a very competitive and specialized business.
OpenAI is now stepping back and focusing on what it does best: language models, agents, and tools for developers and businesses.
Sometimes the best strategy is knowing what not to do.
Story 17. This one is about language, about the way business leaders are now talking about AI and jobs.
For the past few years, when companies made big job cuts, they would use very careful language. They would say things like restructuring, or realigning resources, or optimizing our workforce.
Very polite ways of saying they are firing people.
Exactly. But this week, something changed. The BBC published a story noting that CEOs are now directly and openly saying that AI is the reason for the cuts.
Jack Dorsey from Block said the positions eliminated were, and I quote, made redundant by AI tools. Clear language, no hiding.
Oracle, which cut between 20,000 and 30,000 employees, said they are redirecting $8 to $10 billion from salaries to AI infrastructure. Many other leaders made similar statements. The shift in language is important because it means companies are no longer embarrassed or afraid to say AI is replacing certain types of work. This change in honesty actually helps people in some ways. If you know your job is being affected by AI, you can start learning new skills now rather than being surprised later.
But it also creates fear and uncertainty. If even the biggest companies are openly replacing workers with AI, what does that mean for the average person's career?
This is a question that economists, educators, and politicians all need to answer together, and it is becoming urgent.
We are not in the future anymore. The AI employment revolution is happening right now.
Story 18 brings us to Brazil, and specifically to the state of Rio Grande do Sul, in the south of the country.
The state government launched a new AI-powered public safety monitoring system this week. It uses artificial intelligence to help monitor security across the state.
The details of the exact technology are still limited, but what is significant here is the trend. Local and regional governments, not just national governments and big tech companies, are now adopting AI for public services.
Brazil is a country with 215 million people and significant challenges in public security. If AI tools can help police departments and emergency services respond faster or smarter, that could have a real positive impact on people's lives.
At the same time, AI surveillance systems raise important questions about privacy and civil rights. Who has access to the data? How long is it stored? Can it be used against innocent people?
These are questions that the legal and compliance communities, especially in Brazil with the LGPD, the General Data Protection Law, need to monitor very carefully.
Technology moves fast. Regulation needs to keep up.
Story 19 takes us to Porto Alegre, Brazil, where the South Summit Brazil 2026 took place this week.
South Summit is an international conference for technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, and this year, AI was a central topic.
Business leaders, technology executives, and HR professionals came together to discuss what the rise of AI means for Latin America specifically.
The general message was that Latin America has both challenges and opportunities when it comes to AI.
The challenges include things like digital infrastructure. Many areas in Latin America do not have fast internet or modern computers. Without that, it is harder to access and use AI tools.
There is also the challenge of education. AI requires new skills, and education systems need to adapt quickly to teach those skills.
But the opportunities are real too. Latin America has a young, growing population. It has large amounts of data in natural language Portuguese and Spanish, which AI models need to train on, and it has a tradition of creativity and problem solving.
Several speakers at the event emphasized that Latin America should not just consume AI tools made in the United States, it should also develop its own AI solutions for its own specific problems.
That is a powerful idea. AI designed by Brazilians for Brazilian challenges in Portuguese.
The future of AI is not just American or Chinese, it should be global. Our last story for today. Story 20 comes again from Anthropic, and this one is about a technical feature that many people will find very exciting if they use AI coding tools.
Anthropic launched something called AutoDream for Claude Code, which is their AI coding assistant.
To understand AutoDream, we first need to explain a problem that AI tools have. Most AI systems do not have long memory. Every time you start a new conversation, the AI starts fresh. It does not remember what you worked on yesterday or last week.
This is a big problem for developers who use AI to help write code. Every day they have to re-explain their project to the AI. Here is my project, here is how it works, here are the rules I follow. It wastes a lot of time.
Anthropic had already created something called AutoMemory, which automatically saves notes about your project between sessions, so the AI can remember what you are building.
AutoDream goes one step further. It's like a sub-agent, a small AI inside the main AI that reviews all the saved memory files and organizes them intelligently.
It removes old or outdated information. It reorganizes notes so they are easier to find. It merges duplicates. It's like having an assistant who keeps your filing system clean.
Anthropic compared it to how human memory works. When we sleep, our brain processes and organizes the day's experiences. AutoDream does something similar for the AI's memory files.
For developers, this could save a significant amount of time and improve the quality of AI assistance over long projects.
This is a feature you might not read about in big newspapers, but for the millions of developers who use Claude Code every day, it is very meaningful.
And those were our 20 stories for this week. Alex, what was your biggest takeaway from all of this?
It is hard to pick just one, but I think the theme that connects almost everything this week is speed. Things are moving faster than anyone expected. The money, the technology, the job changes, the legal battles, it's all happening at the same time.
I agree. And my biggest takeaway is the power of trust. We saw millions of users move from ChatGPT to Claude because of an ethical decision. We saw companies winning not just by having better technology, but by having values that users believe in.
Trust is going to be one of the most important currencies in the AI industry. The companies that build it carefully will be the long-term winners.
Now, before we close, a few important reminders. First, protect your digital security. Use strong passwords, use two-factor authentication, be careful with suspicious emails.
Second, if your job involves repetitive tasks, start thinking now about new skills you can develop. Not because you will lose your job tomorrow, but because the market is changing and it is always better to be prepared.
And third, keep asking questions. AI is not magic. It is technology. It has limitations, it makes mistakes, and it reflects the values of the people who build it. Stay curious and stay critical.
That is a great note to end on. Maya, thank you for an amazing episode.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you to all of our listeners. This was a long one today, but there was a lot to cover.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe so you don't miss next week's show.
Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and stay curious.
See you next week.
Goodbye, everyone.